Hey, Boo Boo. Say hi to Periscope. Hello. Hi, Janella. Hey, TA. This is my baby. This is Tucker Boo. Hi, Joseph. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I am scoping outside this morning because it is gorgeous and I could not sit out here. If you joined me right away, you got a little shot of my boo who is also out here. Come here. Oh, hi, Jace. This is my baby Tucker Boo. He's my little Yorkie. I'm also wearing a shirt that my dad got me because he's hilarious. It's a Yorkie wearing glasses, and it's my favorite thing ever. Ow. There's a AC unit. Yorkies are the best. He fits my personality kind of perfectly. If I was a dog, I would definitely be a Yorkshire Terrier. Hi, Judy. All right, cool. So we're doing an Ask Me Anything this morning. Let me know if it gets noisy and I will take it inside. Good boy, little Boo. He did not bark at the dogs that just walked past us, which is very exciting. So I have some stuff that I've written down from various things that I saw online, but if anything occurs to you as I'm talking, I will pause it and answer your questions. So a few of you who have signed up for my email list have started responding, which is fantastic. I love hearing from you guys. It's my favorite thing ever. So if you're not on my newsletter, you can do that using the link in my bio here on Periscope or Instagram or Twitter. It's everywhere, I promise. But I sent out an email, saying some stuff about me and then also asking some stuff about you guys because I want to know what's up with y'all. And so I've gotten a few responses and I thought I'd talk about some of the answers that I've gotten. Feel free to share this Periscope if you'd like. We can get some more people in here to ask questions and such. But yeah, so I'm not going to name any names because I didn't get express permission to share this information with you, but I'm going to keep it nice and vague because the stuff that they shared is great and I wanted to speak to that. So first, someone told me that sitting down to write is their biggest struggle, which I totally understand. And I did a whole Periscope about motivation. There are two types of motivation. There is intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. And intrinsic motivation comes from inside. It is the motivation that comes from the love of doing something. And I think most writers are working off of intrinsic motivation. Joseph. That's the short answer to this problem. Yes, if sitting down to write is the problem, write standing up. You're hilarious. But extrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from outside, that comes from being rewarded for your behavior. And actually, extrinsic motivation diminishes intrinsic motivation. So if you get, so if you actually are receiving too much extrinsic motivation, and you're like trying to use like a treat system or a reward system to motivate yourself, that might actually be hurting you more than it's helping you as far as actually doing the thing, the sitting down and writing. But I will email out a link to that replay. I'm working on getting all of my replays up on YouTube, by the way. It is a process, but they'll be there eventually. So I'll email out a link to that motivation replay to my newsletter so that y'all can check that out again. And then I also wanted to say that the number one way to get yourself going on things is to commit to the first step. So a lot of times I don't want to run in the morning. I actually haven't done it in a couple mornings because there's an issue with my foot. It's a whole thing. But if I wake up and I don't want to run, I commit to at least putting on my workout clothes. just put on my workout clothes. And 9 times out of 10, once I'm in my workout clothes, I feel really silly if I don't go work out. So I go work out. Same concept here. Commit to sitting down at your desk. Commit to opening a Word document, Commit to the first step, whatever the first step is. And then once you've taken that first step, the next ones are going to be a little easier to handle. And also, additionally, the timer trick is another good one. So commit to the first step and then set a timer for yourself. I'm going to sit down here for 5 minutes at my desk. If I haven't done anything in 5 minutes, I'm going to move on with my life and it'll be fine. I'll try again tomorrow. But if you sit down at your desk for 5 minutes, you might find that you're suddenly motivated to do something. And then writing will happen. Yes, the timer trick totally works because you can do anything for 5 minutes. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, if you're sitting there for any period of time, you're like, okay, well, I might as well do something. And you get on a roll and it's all good. So those are my tips for if you are struggling with sitting down to write. I got another response that time management and taking on more than you can actually handle is another big struggle. I feel this one pretty deeply. I am a big yeser. I have a problem with saying no. So to this, I would say prioritize. Make a list of all of the projects you have going on and then order them by the priority and then work off of that list. When I have a really long to-do list, I will absolutely take like a separate piece of paper and just write my top 3 to-dos and just get those 3 done. And then everything gets better from there. So prioritize if you are having some struggles with time management and having too much on your plate. Priorities are your friend. And then also committing to a routine is also a good way to help yourself manage that time. And so that's sort of what we talked about on Wednesday, is looking at your current schedule, looking at your current responsibilities, what time do I actually have? And then committing to a routine that fits into that schedule will also help you to manage your time. So routine and priorities will help with time management and overwhelm. And then I had someone email me that they struggle with finding the right word, especially because English is their second language. Which, first of all, congratulations for, learning English in the first place. It is a stupidly hard language, and even those of us who grew up speaking it mess it up more often than not. So that's fantastic that you're trying, and anyone who's writing in a second language, bravo. That's incredible. So then I wanted to say to this person that if it is holding you up, if it's a struggle that's actually keeping you from writing, my number one tip for you is to just write the word in your own language. Write the word that you're looking for in your own language and move on. You can always come back to the language and fix it later. Maybe Google Translate would be helpful to, get a general idea of what the options are, or even you can ask a native speaker. I am always here if anyone has any questions about anything. You can email me, you can direct message me on any social media, and I will get back to you ASAP. So if you're struggling, even if it seems as insignificant as I'm struggling with a word in this sentence, Megan, I will help you out if I possibly can. I promise. And then this person also said that I like learning new languages. Fantastic. Yes. Languages are fun. I took a linguistics class at UC Davis. It was just intro to linguistics, but there was a lesson, or there was like a unit on structural rules of languages. And one of the worksheets, it was like, these are the rules, now write this sentence. And I was like, I'm writing in Swahili right now. What's happening? I didn't know what I was saying, but I was writing in Swahili. Languages are fascinating. I feel like I should have taken more linguistics classes. So then this person also said that they have written a few sentences, but that they're not sure whether or not it's actually adding up to a novel. And to that, I would say that novels are so much more than just the words and the sentences. So especially in a first draft, focus on your story, focus on your characters, because the language and the sentences are way easier to fix after the fact than the other things. So I would get the, feelings, the story, the characters, all of that. I would focus on that in the first draft more so than I would focus on my sentences and my language. So those were from folks who have responded to my newsletter, and I love you all for reaching out. I'm so excited that people are responding because I love hearing from you guys. Don't ever hesitate to reach out to me for anything. You are never going to be annoying me, I promise, and I will respond in as timely a manner as I can. So then I saw a couple things in a couple different Facebook groups that I thought would be interesting to talk about. So one person wrote, "I finished my novel, now what?" And to that person, they meant like it was the very end of their first draft. They wrote the last word, it's finished, now what do I do? So take a break. That is my first piece of advice. If you have just finished your first draft, take a vacation, like walk away from it, maybe write something else, maybe don't write for a while, just take a breather. And maybe it's going to be for a few days, maybe a few weeks, maybe a month or more. Just take a break until your brain feels like it's recovered, because that is an impressive thing that you just did. You wrote an entire first draft of a book. That's awesome. So you get to go to Disneyland. But after your break is over, go back and reread it and make any changes that you want to do or edits that you see that need to be made. And then after you've done that, or a supernatural convention, there you go. That sounds like fun. But after you've taken your break and then you've done a reread and some editing, some self-editing, then you can send it to beta readers, or you can send it to a developmental editor if you feel like you need some, serious feedback on the big picture items like story structure and character development and that kind of thing. Because that's the thing that beta readers will also be giving you feedback on for the most part. But the difference between a developmental editor and a beta reader is that a developmental editor has had some amount of training. And I like to think that we will be able to go more in depth than a standard beta reader as far as telling you, what did or didn't work, and then also why. That's where I'm not sure about things. About what things? What things are you not sure about? Maybe I can help you get sure. Take a break, come back and reread it, do some self-edits. But beta readers are a small group to give a first impression. Beta readers are people that you trust. They are often fellow writers. I think some people send them out to anywhere between 3 to 6 beta readers is what I've heard more often than not. They'll give you their impressions of the story. They'll give you feedback on basically just like reader experience. They might be able to give you some more in-depth feedback on structure and characters. Some people who have beta read before, some beta readers have a ton of experience. Yeah, that's about how many I've lined up for when I'm done. Cool. So it really just depends on the reader. If they're not a super experienced beta reader, they will not be able to give you that much in-depth feedback. But if they are more experienced, they might be able to give you more. I think the difference for me, like I said, I'm here to help. Ask me any questions you have about publishing lingo. Yeah, anytime I say something that sounds jargony, let me know and I will explain it. Because not everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like I said, the main difference for me between a beta reader and a developmental editor is that, hi Sarah, is that a developmental editor has been trained to edit, trained in story and all of that. And so a developmental editor will be able to tell you why and help you figure out how to go about making the changes that need to be made and fixing the things that need to be fixed. Beta readers may or may not know how to do that for you. But if you're feeling confident about your ability to do the fixes, then beta readers might be the way that you go. So yeah, if you have just finished your first draft, walk away from it for a bit, come back and reread. Yes, that is a good summation of all of those words that I just said. Thank you for that. So if you've just finished your first draft, you should take a break, come back and do some self-edits, send it to beta readers or a developmental editor. Then you're going to incorporate whatever feedback you got that you like. That's the other thing, is you don't have to listen to anybody. It's your book. So if you get all kinds of feedback and there's stuff that you disagree with, you don't have to change it if you don't want to. And you have to pick readers who will be real and not just fangirls or boys. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you definitely don't want just a group of yes people. You want people who are going to be honest with you and give you, and say the stuff that maybe you don't want to hear. You know, you definitely need people who are going to tell you things that you don't want to hear. And that's kind of the other bonus about going to a developmental editor, is they're not necessarily your friend. Like I absolutely want all of my clients to succeed, but because of that, I am going to tell you, yes, tough love. I am going to tell you the things that I'm seeing that are not good. But I'm also going to tell you the things that are good, because your strengths need to be strengthened just as much as your weaknesses. So I like to tell my clients, you know, this is where it's working. This is why that's working. This is what you're doing really well. Congratulations. This is awesome. And then also, here are some things. And it's not even necessarily you're doing this wrong. It's stuff like, I don't think that this character's arc is working the way that you want it to. I can see where you're trying to go with this, but I don't think you've quite hit that mark. Let's try this. You know, it's that kind of feedback. And I love doing it. I cannot believe that I found this job, guys. I can't even tell you. How do you find the inspiration for a story you've wanted to write for a while? Interesting. So you have an idea, but you haven't written it yet? Because, interesting. You know, I sort of have the same thing going on with my nonfiction piece that I've been trying to get out for a while. So with that, for me anyway, I've just been, you know, periodically I'll sit down and try again. I've probably started this 5 or 6 times. I usually let my dreams start fleshing it out. That's a really, my brain does that too. Sometimes I'll have a dream that is like a scene from a story, and then I wake up and I have to write it down before I forget. So yeah, maybe just like thinking about it, letting it ruminate, letting it marinate in your head might help. Your subconscious might do some work for you, sort of shower thoughts type stuff. A series of shorts about setting and characters, that's a really great idea. And that's sort of what I was saying, is every once in a while with this thing that I have in my head, I don't write in order, so I just write down what's coming and then piece it together. That's really interesting. I have to go, I feel like it's a failing of my brain, but I have to go in order. But I like that idea, absolutely, to just write what you have and then worry about putting it together after the fact. That's another good suggestion. That's interesting. You and I are definitely opposites. That's funny. So yeah. But what I've been doing with my idea that I can't seem to get out is, like I said, just periodically I sit down and I give it a shot. And then if that doesn't work or eventually peters out, then I give it a break. I walk away for a while, and then I sit down and I give it another shot. You could try reading things that have a similar feel if it's fiction, or even if it's nonfiction, I guess. Like for me, reading memoirs and seeing the different forms and stuff that they come in, that could give you some ideas. Or maybe finding novels or short story collections or something that have similar themes or topics or a similar vibe to your idea that you're looking for inspiration for. That could be helpful. Did any of those sound like good, helpful ideas, Janella? I hope so. Yeah. So then the next thing I saw on Facebook that seemed a little interesting was that someone posted that they had finished something. Oh, I just have to find the motivation to sit down and actually write. Yes. And if you're on my newsletter, I'm going to send out the Periscope that I did about motivation specifically. But then also routine and consistency and, really committing is the thing. Yes, exactly. It's always hard, but once you do, you usually get something out. Exactly. So, commit to sitting down somewhere, commit to going to a coffee shop, commit to finding a quiet place where you can get into that creative headspace, and then set a timer for yourself. Sit there for 5 to 10 minutes and see if you actually start writing. And I think eventually you'll get there. You just have to commit to the first step. And then hopefully it will become self-motivating. My story takes place up at my aunt's property. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if it's set in an actual place, go to that place. That would be amazing. I would absolutely do that. My mom and her husband bought property up in my mom and her husband bought property up in Spokane, Washington, and I try to get up there as many times as I can during the summer because it is just beautiful and quiet and by a lake, and it's my favorite. So yeah, if you have a place, especially if your story is set there, that sounds awesome. I wish I could go to some of the places I'm writing about. I can't because it's my college town. It's too far away. Yes, Google Earth. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm writing a story. That's set in Italy, and I've never been to Italy before, but I used Google Earth and I tricked my critique group into thinking that I had actually been there. So yeah, Google Earth is another really great resource if you can't actually travel to the place that you're writing about. But Janella, I'm super jealous of you that you can go up to the place where your story is actually set. That's amazing. So someone else on Facebook posted about how, you're welcome, about how they had finished something and it had gone through several rounds of revisions and edits, and they were wondering it had gone through several rounds of revisions and edits, and they knew that it still needed some work in the character development department, but they're over it, and so they want to move on to something else. And this person was asking whether or not they should publish this work and then move on, or if they should shelve it and move on. And my advice to someone who has gone through the trouble of, if you have worked on something for that long, I know it feels like you want to have some kind of rewarding conclusion for it, but if for whatever reason you don't want to work on it anymore, but you know that it's not the best it could be, I would not publish it, because once you publish something, it's out there. And, no matter how good your next thing is, if the thing that you just published is not your best work and that's a reader's first impression of you, that is going to hurt you pretty badly. So if you've got something that you don't want to work on anymore, but is not quite up to snuff, don't publish it. I would absolutely stick it in a drawer. Don't destroy it. Do not destroy it. I don't delete anything I've ever written. Shelve it. Absolutely shelve it. Put it in Dropbox. Put it, store it somewhere where it will be safe, and then move on to something else. Come back when your voice is better for that story. Yeah, you might come back to it later, or you might not. It might just be a thing that you wrote. I don't think any writing is wasted necessarily. Maybe those characters or, some aspect of those characters will work their way into something else that you write in the future. Writing is a practice. So anytime you do it, you're practicing, and it's going to help you get better, no matter what happens with the thing that you just wrote. So, so it might feel anticlimactic or, unsatisfying. But if you are ready to move on from something and it's not quite publishable, do not publish it just because you want to move on. That is a bad, bad idea. And thus concludes the things that I've gathered from around the internet. Does anybody else have any questions for me before I go see if breakfast is ready? I use Word. I actually write by hand with my first drafts. I've heard a lot about Scrivener. I am very, very curious about it. But I write by hand with my first draft. Hello! Welcome, welcome. So yeah, I write by hand in my first draft and then I type it into Word. My current project I'm working on is giving me some hell right now. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share my struggle with you guys since I ask you guys to share your struggles with me all the time. Yeah, I've heard very good things about Scrivener. I've kind of gotten curious about whether or not Evernote can help me solve my problem, which I'm going to tell you about. That you have to just use the parts that work for you. Interesting. Yeah, I don't like having overpowered programs. If something has a bunch of bells and whistles that I feel like I'm not using, it just makes me feel bad, which I know is a super weird thing to say. But the feature of Scrivener that I'm most interested in for my purposes is the digital corkboard, where you can write up the descriptions of the various scenes that you have written and then reorder them by dragging and dropping it. That's the thing I'm most interested in, because my problem right now with my current project is that I have gotten to a point. So I didn't outline, first of all, and I wrote myself completely past a scene that that I intended to include, and that meant that I went in a direction that was completely wrong, and I wrote myself into a corner. Snapshots. Interesting. I haven't heard about that one. But yeah, so I didn't outline, and I wrote past a scene that I meant to write, and so then I went in a direction that ended in this completely boring place. Mind mapping software if I'm not wanting to use Scrivener. Interesting. I do know where I want it to end. Whenever I start writing, I have sort of a vague ending in mind, and then I'll usually have an idea and maybe a couple characters and a couple scenes. But I didn't write any of it down. So that happened. So now I'm struggling with trying to write the stuff that I forgot to write without going back and fully revising what I've already written, because I really want to finish the draft and then go back and finish it, because that's what I preach to everybody is, just finish the first draft. You can go back and fix it later. And so now I'm struggling between wanting to just keep going. I would save what went wonky elsewhere and roll back. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But now I'm like, okay, so do I, because it's written by hand. So do I type it all up so that I can digitally move things? Or do I, just get a new notebook and start over? And so I'm trying to figure this out. And part of me is thinking dictation on my phone. Oh, an interesting idea. Just read it. That's an interesting idea. That would be easier. I agree. Than just figure out where you can fit it in later. Yeah. I'm thinking of typing out the scenes that I have into Evernote. Yeah, because I have Evernote and I'm pretty obsessed with it. So I'm thinking of breaking down what I have handwritten and typing up the scenes into Evernote so that I can reorder them how I want to. But that's what makes me want to get Scrivener, is because Evernote doesn't have a drag and drop reordering option. So, but I like the idea of dictating what I've written into the computer instead of retyping it, because that is tedious and I feel like the reading would go faster. So I like that idea. It would be useful, but then you have to take time to learn the software. True. You can import all sorts of things into Scrivener as well. Oh, interesting. Maybe I should just bite the bullet and get Scrivener. I mean, I see coupons all the time. It's not like it's that expensive, right? It's like $40 tops. Time saved and cost. Oh, it's 50. But you could try it free for 30 days. Interesting, interesting. I do that all the time when I edit, dictate my handwritten notes into Scrivener. Oh, you can dictate it into Scrivener. They have coupons. Yeah, that's what I see it all the time for, like, you know, download it for $20. Interesting. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll find a Scrivener coupon, get some Scrivener going, and try this dictation thing. Because, yeah, I'm really stuck, and it's really just bothering me. I get so overwhelmed. I, like, sit down, I'm like, all right, I'm going to fix it. This is the day that I get back on track. And then I'm like, no, I don't know what to do. And I literally one time sat down and opened a new document, copy and pasted the whole thing into the new document. And then I was like, what am I doing? And so then I had 2 of the same thing. And I was like, this isn't even solving anything. And I got overwhelmed and walked away. And it was like a terrible waste of time. So yeah, maybe I'll check that out. Thanks for talking me through that, you guys. That's some good ideas. That's why I love this group. I love answering your questions. I love that I get to talk to you guys about stuff. It's just fantastic. You guys are awesome. Don't delete or toss the notebook. Just save what went well and leave out what's not working. Yes, definitely. Yeah. I was just saying that I never delete or get rid of anything I write, ever. Because every piece of writing is practice, and everything is going to help you improve, or, you know, maybe it'll come back in some way. I am a word hoarder. I am absolutely, no shame. I know quite a bit about it and can help with many questions. Cool. About Scrivener? That's good to know, because I definitely will have questions. I learned software pretty quickly, but sometimes things, like I said, I get overwhelmed with bells and whistles if things have too many features, and I feel like my accounting software for my business, I'm doing what I need to do with it, but I know there's a bunch of stuff that it does that I'm not paying attention to, and I feel guilty, and it doesn't make any sense, but that's just my brain. So, Photoshop people only ever use 10 features. Yeah, exactly, and it just feels like a waste. I'll try it. You've talked me into it, guys. I'm going to try it. I'm going to give this Scrivener bandwagon a shot. I believe you. I think there's enough good features that, like, it'll be helpful at the very least. It's about using it smart, not getting a degree in it. Exactly. A writer made it to try and help other writers. Yes, email me your tips. Absolutely. I will happily accept your tips. That's interesting. Why would you design things that you know people aren't going to use? I don't know. You've convinced me. You have all convinced me. I'm going to give it a shot. I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, that's true. Fair point. We do all write differently. Okay, well, I smell bacon, so that is a sign that I am going to need to wrap this up. Yay! You've talked us both into it. You've gotten TA and I both into the Scrivener family. So I'm gonna go check that out. I have a couple other things that I need to do today, and then I will check that out when I get a chance. So thanks for joining me, you guys. I will see you all Wednesday for our Writerly Wednesday chat, which is going to be part 2 of my Write Like a Marathoner series. And then I'll be back here on Sunday again for your questions. Again, you can sign up for my newsletter to get all the replays and fun information and stuff. The link is in my bio here and on Instagram, where I am Why Not Blog. And yeah. Bye.